Ayad from Moralton. How does it feel for me? August 2025. Could you tell us about your experiences of arranging social care support to meet your needs?
I remember the phone call quite clearly when I called. Everybody you speak to, every professional you meet will be really lovely. And they will speak to you very nicely and they're very good at their jobs. The difficulty sometimes comes in, um, I guess, the system. So there's a lot of waiting, a lot of expecting calls, a lot of calling that you need to do yourself. And things generally move quite slowly, which, as you can imagine, for me with a progressive condition is quite difficult because I might speak to them on my health. My physical ability is one thing at that moment in time, but then when I get the support from them, my my physical abilities are a lot different because it would have been a few months. So a lot of the time, it does feel like a race against the clock to get that support before my physical needs reach another level. So I think all in all, before getting the support from calling them the first time until getting the support was almost 2.5 years, I think. But then I found out that my physical abilities did change after the 2.5 years. So I felt quite frustrated because a lot of it consisted of me phoning up, seeing how the referrals were going. To me, it felt like things were getting worse, things are kind of falling out of reach. Whereas I assume within a system, within an organization, you kind of are usually taken as a statistic. As a wheelchair user, it's very easy for them to assess the situation as a one size fits all. But obviously, it's only me who is able to really say what differences there are in my life. The reassessment had to come at some point in between the 2.5 years because when I first called up to when I actually got the occupational therapist to come out and assess me, in that period there was a lot of changes. So I think I did receive an assessment closer to the time of the support.
Can you share some challenges people might face when trying to access social care support?
One of the biggest issues is probably the fact that the information isn't easily accessible. It's very difficult to kind of come across. You have to speak to the professionals themselves to see what options there are, rather than just from the outset being told these are the options, by the way. I'm of Arabic background. A lot of people in my situation within the community, English is not their first language. I can see that there are issues with these language barriers and people aren't necessarily receiving the support that they need to be able to live independent, fulfilled lives. I think a lot of people might find it a bit daunting to speak to the professionals and ask them for alternatives. But I think generally there's just kind of an overwhelming understanding that these people know best. So whatever their suggestions or recommendations are, they're probably the best ones and we'll go with it. To challenge what they've suggested or to ask for alternatives is difficult for a lot of people.
What could have helped to make it easier for you to access social care support?
So I think if I was to reflect on the past 5 years or so, I would have really, really appreciated having the information from start to finish very accessible and very at hand. If every professional was to provide all the information necessary from the very start, I would have been in a better position whereby I wouldn't have to contact so often to get updates, to get guidance, to get information.
What's one thing about your care did you really value over the last 12 months?
I think over the time that I've been going through this, my occupational therapist has been very easy for me to contact and she's been very helpful in giving me guidance, giving me support, giving me advice, um, giving me options. And I think because it's been the same occupational therapist from the very start, it won't take too long to receive a response from them about a particular thing. But I was very lucky that over a few years we managed to build a relationship where um, I think she was willing to provide support above and beyond what was necessarily expected. But receiving that guidance, receiving support, um, it makes the process a lot easier.
Thank you to Ayad for sharing his story. Produced by Healthwatch Leeds in collaboration with Ro Lara.